Gege, you absolutely beautiful mastermind. Chapter 212 of Jujutsu Kaisen might be one of the best chapters of any manga that I have read in the past 12 months. Like, I am genuinely struggling to find the words to properly describe how good this chapter was and what I just fucking read. The chapter opens up with a flashback of Megumi going to visit Tsumiki in the hospital after she's woken up from her coma, and I can only assume that this was just before the Culling games had properly started and after Kenjaku's idol transfiguration technique had set in during the Shibuya incident. But knowing what we now know about Tsumiki, or rather Yoruzu, as I should call her, it makes these opening panels even more dark and sinister that this Yoruzu acted their part so goddamn well that even Megumi couldn't tell the difference between the reincarnated sorcerer and his own sister. Once again, Gege just reminding us that all sorcerers are con artists. Like Reggie Star said, they're all con artists. And also Gege is capable of writing some truly horrific shit. Like, if this man went on to write a horror manga after Jujutsu Kaisen had ended, I'd read it. But we cut back to Yuji on the roof saying to himself in his head, just a little more and everything will be okay. And obviously this is just major foreshadowing to the bullshit that is about to befall Yuji and the gang here, because Yuji then goes on to say basically he's thankful for Megumi and Gojo in his head about giving him a role to play in all of this basically. And remember, Yuji's been in a state of accepting his death now ever since the Shibuya instance. Like, Yuji's mental has been absolutely shattered by those events, and even now we're seeing the toll of those events weighing so heavy on Yuji and what Sukuna and the disaster cases did to not only Yuji but his friends and innocent people. And I also just want to point out that Gojo has popped up now 3 chapters in a row, and I 100% think that this is Gege preparing us for an eventual unsealing here, and I'll get into that at the end of the video. But Yuji's inner monologue ends up getting interrupted by the fake Tsumiki, creating a rule for the Culling games to allow free exit and entry through the barriers, which, as you can imagine, creates a whole host of problems in and of itself. It also creates a problem a little later on down the line, which I'll get into in a little minute. But Kogane ends up accepting this rule and adds it and announces it via the usual broadcast to all of the players, so we can assume all of the players that we saw in the last chapter will all now also know about this rule, and anyone on Yuji's side will also be wondering what the hell is going on. And Megumi looks absolutely horrified and goes on to ask Tsumiki just who she is, and in one of the best displays of evil and malice coupled with absolute despair I've seen from Gege in the series, we see Tsumiki laughing as Megumi is staring at her while she declares herself Megumi's sister. And this is where we get information on incarnations, which also again may be very important later on down the line. But we see Megumi thinking in his head that reincarnated sorcerers can access the brain's information on the modern era. So people like Sukuna, Angel and Choso are all able to access this information and be able to function in the modern era. And Megumi realizes that he's made a mistake in thinking that Tsumiki was just an awakened player rather than actually a reincarnated player. I just want to say that these past 2 chapters have caught me so off guard, like by a long mile. Like, I'm genuinely not even sure where the story can go anymore because it feels so unpredictable right now. Like, it's genuinely crazy. When I read this chapter for the first time the other day, I was like, oh my god, like genuinely audibly shocked at what was going on in this. Tsumiki then reveals her name is actually Yoruzu, and Yuji and Angel rush over to ask what's going on, and Megumi asks Yoruzu if it was this whole time, and Yoruzu replies with, you guys have been the ones that told me about it, the Culling games, and then basically says, I'm not going to turn down 100 points for free about it. And she then goes on to say how she hasn't had a fight in over 1,000 years, and her first fight ought to be Sukuna. And then Yoruzu then all of a sudden grows wings and flies away, and it's truly incredible just how many sorcerers want to throw hands with Sukuna and how many of them will destroy anything in their path to do it. Ashimo wants Sukuna, Angel wants Sukuna, and now this Yoruzu wants him. This man Sukuna truly is him in this chapter. But as Yoruzu flies away, Yuji and Angel decide to chase her down. And if you're a Megumi fan, you might just want to get out a big old canister of copium right now and start huffing away, or just turn away from the screen because I'm going to keep it a stack. It's not looking good for your boy. Remember that binding vow from the beginning of the series that Yuji and Sukuna struck, where Yuji has no memory of it? Yeah, Sukuna just cashed in on that bad boy. Sukuna says the words "N chain" and Yuji freezes, and we get a flashback of the moment as Sukuna takes over Yuji's body and immediately grabs Angel and knocks her out cold. And he then tells Megumi about the binding vow that he had with Yuji, and then goes on to say that what happens next is a gamble as he starts to pour cursed energy into the pinky finger of Yuji's hand, and he then rips it off. He rips that finger off and he starts to laugh about how stupid Yuji is for not adding the clause into the vow that he wouldn't be able to hurt himself in the binding vow. And honestly, when this vow was created, never in my wildest dreams would I have guessed Sukuna was going to do this when he enacted upon the vow. But here we are with Gege grabbing us all by the balls and letting us know that Sukuna really is him and Gege is about that life. Megumi then starts to summon them with a fucking Maharaga. However, Sukuna is just like, yeah, nah, I'm good. I've been there. I've done that tango before. And then he proceeds to grab Megumi and force feed him Yuji's pinky, and then he reincarnates into Megumi. So now we know what he wanted with Megumi, and it was his body. All this time, Sukuna just outright pulled on with a Orochimaru right here. He then refers to what he said a while back in the series about Megumi, saying soon we'll see something interesting, as Yuji comes face to face with Sukuna, who has been completely reincarnated into Megumi, as Sukuna calls Yuji a brat. Gege really just said, fuck it. Sukuna is him for this chapter. So there's a few points that I just want to go over here. The rule being added for free exit and entry out of the barriers means Sukuna can now leave and wander the world freely wherever he wants to go. But not only this, people like Kenjaku can now also enter the barriers freely, which again, if those two cross paths, I feel like even more badness is going to go and happen. As for my point about Gojo before, Angel has now been exposed to Sukuna. So now I think the conditions for what Angel wants are now going to change. He's going to realize quickly that Gojo needs to be present to defeat Sukuna. Sukuna is another beast. And I think Angel was putting too much stock in that chaos technique because I don't think she stands a chance against Sukuna. I think the only person in the verse right now that is standing even a remote chance is Gojo. I think the only person that could possibly help Itadori at this moment is Takaba, and I think that's the only person that might be able to hold Sukuna off. It's not looking good, but I think that's how we're going to end up with a Gojo that gets freed in the series, because Angel's going to realize just how severe this situation is and that they need Gojo to get away alive with this here. And then there's the big question of what happens next. What will Sukuna do? And here's my theory on this. I think Sukuna will leave Yuji alive. I think he'll leave him alone because I think he's going to want Yuji to suffer as much as possible, because why the f not? He's fucking Sukuna. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he can do what he wants. And I think Sukuna's next order of business is to move his ass right on over to Urumi and Kenjaku and get this bath that was referenced a couple of chapters ago. And I think this bath is going to be a way of removing Megumi's soul permanently from his body, so Sukuna will have complete control. Because you're probably thinking, why can't Megumi just suppress Sukuna? Well, Yuji was drip fed Sukuna's fingers over the course of like a couple of weeks or months, however long it was. But then in Shibuya, he was force fed a bunch of them, and Sukuna took over forcefully because Yuji didn't have the willpower or the capacity to stop that kind of thing happening. If my theory is correct here, and I'm going to show you why I think it's correct, Sukuna just force fed Megumi 15 fingers worth of his power, all within one condensed bite-sized Yuji chicken tender right there. The only reason I think that this was the entirety of Sukuna's power leaving Yuji with this finger and into Megumi is because the markings under Yuji's eye have gone now. At the end of the chapter, when he's face to face with Sukuna and Megumi's body, Yuji has no markings underneath his eyes to represent that Yuji is still a partnership with Sukuna. So I think that's what's going to happen here. And as for Megumi, I'm not going to lie, boys, I don't think it's looking good here. Overall, this chapter was truly incredible. Gege just outdid himself for me personally. This one chapter alone just cemented the Culling games above the Shibuya arc for me personally. But that is everything from me. If you haven't already, make sure you like the video and make sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments down below what you thought of the chapter. And if you want to, consider becoming a member of the channel. It's $1.99 a month and you'll get access to all sorts of goodies, like a little Gojo badge next to your name in the comments down below and in streams, as well as a whole access of little emotes again for the comments and in live streams. But that is everything from me. Much love, big kisses, and I'll catch you guys all in the next one. Peace.